Okay, so all you guys now know that the Supreme Court has announced its decision in Windsor versus the United States. And we won everything we asked and hoped for. Wow. I'm honored and humbled and overjoyed to be here today to represent not only the thousands of Americans whose lives have been adversely impacted by the Defense of Marriage Act, but those whose hopes and dreams have been constricted by the same discriminatory law. Over the past 2.5 years, many people have asked me, why did you decide to sue the United States of America over a tax bill? Because the answer is complex, I want to give you some of the background. I lived with and loved Thea Spire for more than 4 decades, in love and joy, in sickness and in health, until death did us part. When Thea died in 2009 from a heart condition, 2 years after we were finally married, I was heartbroken. On a deeply personal level, I felt distressed and anguished that in the eyes of my government, the woman I had loved and cared for and shared my life with was not my legal spouse, but was considered to be a stranger with no relationship to me. On a practical level, due to DOMA, I was taxed $363,000 in federal estate tax that I would not have had to pay if I had been married to a man named Theo. Even if I had met Theo just immediately before, married him, and never even lived with him before he died, the tax would have been zero. So overwhelmed with a sense of injustice and unfairness, I decided to bring the lawsuit against the government to get my money back. I lucked out when Robbie Kaplan, a litigation partner at Paul Weiss, walked into my life. Paul Weiss has a proud tradition of representing clients, including LGBT clients, in a wide variety of pro bono matters. One of those outstanding pro bono cases is Edith Windsor, that's me, versus the United States of America. At a time when the gay organizations that I approached responded with, "It's the wrong time for the movement," Robbie Kaplan said, as did Martin Luther King before her, "There is no wrong time to seek justice," answered my plea and took me on. And this old lady flourished with the help of the large and superb Paul Weiss team handling my case. Along with James Essex of the ACLU, who joined us right up front, and Pamela Carlin of the Stanford Law School Supreme Court Litigation Clinic, Robbie won historic victories for me, Windsor, in addition to one, convincing the Obama administration to change its mind and no longer defend the constitutionality of DOMA. 2, persuading the district court, Judge Barbara Jones, that there was no rational basis for DOMA and that it was unconstitutional. 3, we won the first decision ever by a federal appellate court, holding that laws like DOMA that discriminate against gay people should no longer be presumed to be constitutional and should be subject to heightened judicial scrutiny. And monumentally, Robbie Kaplan, our counsel of record, argued our case in the Supreme Court on March 27th this year. When she argued against DOMA, she was cool and calm and informed and reasoned, all of which was sustained by her deeply felt passion for equality in all of our lives. And we won all the way. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, Robbie Kaplan and your partners at Paul Weiss, for making this all possible. Thank you, James, for coming in and helping so strongly. I also owe special thanks to all the people in our movement who have worked as hard over so many years to achieve this result, especially Mary Bonotto, who led the effort on the briefs from our friends and allies in our case. And to the justices of the Supreme Court, thank you for affirming the principle of equal justice under the law. Finally, to all of the gay people and their supporters who have cheered me on, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, I'm sure Thea is thanking you too. Not only does a much larger portion of our country, of our straight and the straight members of our country, see us differently, okay, as just people who live and love and bring up kids who will play with their kids, but our own community has come out and seen each other and loved each other in a way that makes me courageous and proud and joyous every day. Because of today's Supreme Court ruling, the federal government can no longer discriminate against the marriages of gay and lesbian Americans. Children born today will grow up in a world without DOMA. And those same children who happen to be gay will be free to love and get married, as Thea and I did, but with the same federal benefits, protections, and dignity as everyone else. If I had to survive Thea, what a glorious way to do it. And she would be so pleased. Thank you all.